warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Do you hear me now? Hear me well?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Okay, it's clear. Then I don't have to adjust my mic. Okay. Okay, I think our session will start 2:30 until 4, yeah?
Yeah, 4.
That, what do you call that? Professor German said, if you want to exit, but cannot exit 4:30. So, okay, we try because the methodology is quite complete. What do you call? Quite a big topic. Yeah. But anyway, I would try to make it what do you call it short, because it is not the lectures, but it's rather a guide to all of you, so that you'll be able to go through finding your ways. Yeah.
Dr. SHAAYA, sorry, can you play the slide, because some of the participants couldn't see the font.
Okay, I'll try.
You can press F5 on your keyboard.
Okay.
F5. Yeah.
All
right. Thank you. Thank you.
Clear.
Yeah, much more clear. Thank you.
Okay, for this, for 2:30 or 4:30 or 4 o'clock, we try to discuss on seven discussion. We try to discuss a discussion of problem statement, research questions, objective, example of research proposal, research design strategy and sample design, data collection, and of course, example PhD thesis. We focus on PhD thesis, qualitative and quantitative analysis, and of course, example talk about the research finding and so on. And perhaps the last, we try to talk about how research thesis could be industry and universities. But basically, this is a research process. Yeah, research process. The main research process consisting of research question, research proposal, research design, data collection and preparation, and then data analysis and interpretation, and of course, research reporting. Research reporting could be industry or could be a form of thesis. Yeah, these are basic process. Wherever you read the books, these are the basic process. Okay. Earlier in the morning, we discussed about just an overview of research. We need to know, for us as student or researcher, we should know that the type of research we're doing, whether it's applied research, whether it's pure research, whether it's a mixture of pure and applied research. There's a 3 types of research that we are available that you're going to undergo, in the sense that you're a PhD student or you are researcher in industry or in government. These are the basic 3 types of research. And the method of analysis, qualitative analysis, qualitative method, which is basically is a statistical analysis, that is very mathematical in a sense, and the inferences that you're going to make from this analysis is basically very objective, because it's based on data statistical analysis. And of course, the other one is qualitative research. It's basically very subjective, non-statistical analysis. And the inference you get to make is mostly subjective in that sense. Okay, it could be the mixture of qualitative and quantitative. It could be 2 mixture of research. I mean, you can do either through qualitative to make some inferences on certain issue before you go into qualitative. I mean, this quantitative statistical analysis, a mixture of 2. When I did my PhD, I did a mixture of 2, not to make my supervisor confused, but I would prefer these 2. Okay, so these are the method analysis, types of research, and research process. You should be able to know that. Okay, I think in every 15 minutes we will stop for 5 minutes question time. Okay, let us go to the process number 1. That is discover the problem. In research, you're going to discover the problem or the opportunities. Problem or opportunities. If I'm a researcher, because research is my, what I call this, the right belonging to me, then I did my research in my own advantage, in the sense that what are the opportunities that are going to be in life? Opportunities. I look at opportunities. What are the opportunities that others can benefit from my research? You see? That is why I choose applied research, in the sense that opportunities could be opportunities for you to advance your business, advance your expertise, and opportunities for you, for the people to get into different method, different business, and so on. These are opportunities. I'm trying to say. Problem also solving a problem. Okay, these are some problem solving. Here, you look into a certain problem, you get to solve. Is good as well. The sense that we help the people to solve a certain issue, social problem, what do you call this, economic problem, management problem, and so on. So it's you to choose. If you are, even when I supervised my master's degree student, he is a Sharia Hafiz in Quran. She said he want to do some research. I said, do research. We give you opportunities. What opportunities are you going to do? I say, since we're doing masters, why not you look at opportunities of opening a Tahfiz school, best Tahfiz school. It's opportunities for you to expand and to structure your syllabus. And of course, you have to make some money to sustain your business to the school. And he did that. And one of the students opened up online Arabic lesson, you see. These are opportunities that he did his MBA, Master of Business Administration, but it's a Sharia, one is a Arabic student, one is a Tahfiz. Okay, these are opportunities. So look at opportunities, look at the problem around you. There's so many opportunities, so many problems which we discuss. And after you go through this, don't look at symptom, look at the problem, not symptom. Don't get involved with the symptom. Example, COVID analysis. The symptom is temperature high, coughing, sore throat. These are not a problem. These are symptoms. The problem is the COVID-19 virus. These are the problems that cause the symptom. So you focus on the problem, you're able to solve the solution. There's an example, yeah, a good example for this. So here, after you look into the surrounding, look at your surrounding expertise, look at what you're doing today, so you determine opportunities to me or problem, whatever you want to do. So after you determine problem situation, then you discuss, look into literature review and discuss with relevant people. Literature review is important in the sense that before you embark on the research, you should do research where nobody yet doing it. If you look into literature review, you look at literature review, then you find that there are others have done it, then perhaps you can go a second step further on his research. That means in advanced research, enhance whatever they're doing. The important of literature review. Literature review is important as well, is to focus your interest just now. You identify the problem. Just for example, you identify a problem that you want to create an alternative immune system to COVID-19, assuming those who are in medical, they can look into all aspects of immunization, all aspects of natural immune system in that sense. So he focused on literature review. If you look at social aspect to overcome COVID-19, you will focus your literature review what areas of interest in social epidemic in the past years, like what they call that Spanish Spanish epidemic and so on. I see that one research we carried out in looking into, I think one area of epidemic, and he forecasted using different model, and he developed a model. You see, these are the areas of his research and his interest. This is very important. You review, then you discuss with your relevant people who are in this area, then only you come up with your definite, find your question. You should question. You define it. Okay, in the sense that in any of thesis, especially in the PhD thesis, you define your question using collected information, transform the problem into question. You transform the problem into question. How this thing happened? Why this thing happens? Therefore, you are more confined to try to solve the problem, or you try to find solution or find opportunities in that area. Okay, I will tell you an example later on in the question. So after this, after you identify your research question, define your question, then you explore, try to find possible action. You could interview, small interviewing, discuss, brainstorming with experts and so on to be more precise. And don't keep to yourself. Discuss with other people. Say that I have to do the research. And this is my question, how to solve the problem. What do you think? Get the opinion from others. Get the opinion from experts. You see, if you're industry, get the opinion from industry. You look into knowledge, get the expert from the professors and so on. And then you come out with your defined research question. Defined question, research question, particularly the research possibility. You have to redefine it and to make it more, what do you call that? More, I will tell you later on, it's more solid in a sense for your research question. Okay, these are the basic research formulating step in formulating research question. Okay, if I could recall back, it's in identify problem, and then identify opportunities, the area that you're going to, and then you identify that you have been going towards literature review to your area of interest. You have to define, and then discuss with relevant people. If you are opportunities industry, you discuss with relevant people in industry. If you're talking about knowledge development, you can discuss with professors and so on. And then after that, you talk of define questions. And then after that, explore again with the people, interviewing people, discuss people, brainstorming with people, experts and so on around you, and then you come up with your more precise research question. Research question may be 2 or 3, you see, or maybe 4. It depends on the area that you're looking into your study. Okay. Now we have the process of research question. Okay. Okay. When I talk opportunities, yes, no. Problem opportunities, yeah, this problem. This is problem. You see the opportunities in business. From here, you develop so many opportunities in business. One guy is, just imagine, one person who developed that tracking system, yeah? You know, tracking system that you're seeing it now, he make $1 billion. You see, $1 billion just introduced tracking system to the Ministry of Health to track the people. And very simple, he first introduced it, he got opportunities in his business. Of course, he make money. Of course, he help the industry. Of course, he help the people to the ministry to help. This is win-win basis. You see? Opportunities I'm trying to say. There's so many opportunities I've seen, 2 or 3. For example, opportunities in terms of monitoring a business at home. You see, there's one guy who opened up a tracking business reporting, and he said he has developed it, and he has been no competitors in that moment, and he started it well. The young guy. So he did a research. He was a master's in engineering. Later he did his master's in the what do you call that, engineering application of behavior, human behavior engineering. Now he applied human behavior in IT. So these are opportunities, I'm trying to say. Okay, and some small business tip during all this coming out, all this research. Okay, just an example. Now you have to come up your research proposal. Really, I think research proposal basically, I would give an example. Before coming with research proposal, you have to determine your research question just now. Submit your research question, decision, and decide. Revise. If you have to revise it, you have to discuss with your supervisors, even in your PhD, then you revise it again. Sometimes you need 2 or 3 times discussion, 3 or more than 3 or 4 times discussion to redefine this. Supervisors may help you to refine your research question After it's accepted, develop research proposal. We have to develop research proposal from this research question. Okay, and then decision, discuss, and decide. Execute research design. Okay, develop research proposal. I will discuss you. I think earlier there is example of research proposal. Depend on the university, depend on industries. But your universities, there are certain structured research proposal they want you to do. I will show you an example of some universities research proposal. Okay, and then after you accepted, your proposal has been accepted, and then you will decide on executing your research design. Okay, these are the step. First, second step, and the third step is quite detailed. Before I go to research design, may I open any question to all of you? Any questions that you like to ask relating to these two steps?
Brothers and sisters, anyone who have question, please unmute your mic.
Yes.
Okay.
These are very important areas where you need to define properly, because without settling with this thing, you cannot proceed with this design, research design. Because research design based on the topics, based on your decision, what are the areas you need to do, whether it's applied research, whether it is a pure research, whether it is problem solving, or whether it's you're going to do opportunities, in the sense of opportunities, if you want to turn around the research into what I'm industry, look into business side of it, it's possible. When I did my research, I'm in industry, as well I'm a businessman, as well I'm interested in Sharia. So I have Maqasid al-Sharia, application and strategic management, in a case study of business of my interest. At that time is environmental business, which generate profitability or not. And plus profit, plus achieving Maqasid al-Sharia. So that the combination of three is my interest. Maqasid al-Sharia, strategic management, plus case study on environmental business. So the three. I mean, try to solve a certain problem, try to see the opportunities that I could go into industry and so on. So any question on that, please? Don't be shy to ask.
I ask.
Or give ideas for everything you want.
Sister Mambaul Ngadima,
Yeah.
yes, please.
Thank you. Is there any differences when we formulating research question between applied research, pure research, and mixed research?
Okay. And there are, as I did mention earlier, you look at the applied research. Okay, what is applied research? Applied research basically is relating to solve the real problem. Okay, applied research. The pure research basically is relating to, say, for example, development of theory, mathematical theory. For example, I did ask one of my students before, try to develop a theory calculation in terms of determining the financial viability of a project. At the moment, we are using internal rate of return or net present value. IIR, mathematical calculation, there are elements of interest involved in multiplication. So why not try to devise a certain mathematical formula where you are putting variable profitability into that? You see, that is one theory, mathematical in that sense. If you look at the present research on the COVID-19, they are using formula to develop a model projecting the number of cases and the number of mortality. Okay, they use various models, complex model, ground models. The other one is logistic model, which is having 4 parameters, 3 parameters, and so on. So they are comparing a different model which is more effective. That is basically is trying to find the best model or develop new model. And that is pure research. But applied research, as give example for myself, I try to do applied research, I try to apply Maqasid al-Sharia into strategic management, which I'm familiar with, and then I try to do how this Maqasid, the strategic management applied, could be viable or profitable to environmental business, basically solid waste management, for example. So the result is that it is profitable, it achieves Maqasid Sharia, and same thing make money. So I will benefit by myself. Because this research belongs to me, I can patent it, I can make a business out of it. Okay, this is an example. Another example is my neighbor who is doing his biology, but he is a biologist. He did a research on how oil palm could be turned into diesel. This is PhD. And he successfully managed to find biological oil palm turning into diesel. And he patented his research. And one big company bought it and gave it 5% royalty.
Biodiesel, right, Dr. Shaya?
Sorry?
Biodiesel.
Yeah, biodiesel, yeah. She's my neighbor next. You see. And the only difference now, next research is to be done is the biodiesel is solidified when it's cold. When it is when you go to the higher, for example, Genting Highland, then the oil will what it called solidify. That is another research to be done. You do that, that is important. That is I'm talking about applied research. See, as you answer your question. Example. Yeah, thank you for asking the question. Okay, any other question before I proceed on? Okay. I proceed on, all right? Okay, now you have identified, it's important for you as student to me. To me, research is your own effort, your own effort. If you are in academic world, maybe you will have to do some PhD in order to proceed your career in academic. That means you have to have that means you must have PhD in order to be professors. But in industry, it's different. That means the two elements, you can make the company growth, then you can be highly promoted, or you can do it your own business from the research that you're doing. So that means it benefits to you financially. When you put the Sharia, then it is fulfill the Sharia requirement, then both will have the benefits. Okay, we'll try to relate other research related to Sharia. Okay, now we finish this two parts. Okay, example of research proposal. We have finished this, so we go for this. Okay. This another example. Earlier, there is example given in the booklet, isn't it? You have seen it. This is another example where the research proposal you can propose to your what do you call that? To your supervisors. Looking at this PhD, you see. Why I choose this because when this proposal, the supervisor accept it immediately, and the reason is that this proposal, after proceeding to it, they get the distinction out of it in terms of the research finding and so on, because it covers everything. Introduction means you must cover your breakdown study, Islamic banking, problem statement, objective of the study, research question, research hypothesis, significance of the study, and then you have the, what you call this, operating of spelling mistake, operating research operating research. Yeah, how are you going to do it? Okay, this literature review you're doing, and research methodology you're going to apply for this research. You cover everything. Okay, and then of course these are three important elements: production, review, and research methodology. And in this research methodology, discuss the qualitative research and quantitative research, why you use qualitative research, why you use quantitative research. You see, this is important for the supervisor to know. Okay, and these are the proposal. After you determine the area of the topics and then the area what to do, the literature review you have done. I think literature review today is very simple, isn't it? Unlike old days, you have to go to the library and spend hours and days in the library, open up journal, and then booking the red spot book, red spot research. Today, you just go into the internet, get hundreds of them. You can read today, journal, e-library. You can build your own e-library in your computer, which I did, in the sense that you can purchase e-books. It's very simple. I just purchased a few. It just cost me 1-2 ringgit, for example, $1-2. If you buy the actual e-book, it's cost you 250, especially on strategic management book. It's very expensive. So, but now we're having all these internets and all things you can go through very fast. You see? There's no reason to say that you have no time to read, because your time spent is more on reading than time on searching today. Okay, literature review here. And research methodology, for example, there are so many research methodology. Just type in that qualitative research methodology, it will tell you the detail of it, every choice, the journal using, why they choose it. It's all there. Before we have to buy the book, research methodology in business, one book costs 150 ringgit. Now you can buy it and you can just look into the internet. There's no excuse, there's no difficulty. I think everything is simple nowadays. Is it? Okay, now we can look at this problem statement. Looking at this problem statement, for example, we have identified certain problem in this area. For my example, let's give my example. I look into what I call it, this Maqasid of Sharia. I look into strategic management. I look into waste management and so on. I see where there's a gap between the two, issues, what are issues relating to Maqasid of Sharia, what are issues relating to strategic management today, what is the issues relating to the business in this area. There are many issues, right? Because my interest in environmental business, I was involved in environmental business in Austria. So I see there's so many issues, especially in this part of the world, toxic waste, municipal waste, all this sort of thing. There are issues, hidden issues need to be solved in this case. And then you can, what you can suggest after research, you can identify the method and you can identify how the business could be generated from this area. So these are the issues, and then we try to go into this justification of research, why justified it, and then look into this, what you call this, brief discussion on this issue. Okay, just table it out, because we are going to what project proposal later in the real thesis. We have to describe these issues in detail. You see, so all this we can say there's no model to integrate to address issues as to bring the gap closer. There's a gap. You see, this example, and of course your research objective here. You already determined research objective. We have capitalized in simple form. Research 1, research 2, research objective 3, and this is research question relating to research objective and so on. You see? This is an example how. For example, research question 2, the Maqasid al-Sharia is put as part of strategic management process, identifying input, resources, and output product. In case of MSY is municipal solid waste, that is waste, environmental waste that could turn into recycle, and so on. So Maqasid Syariah business undertaking and so on. So these are the examples. Because you are in this area, you see, in this your interest on research question and research objective. But you have to discuss with your supervisors. Perhaps supervisors could help you to focus on a certain issue which you may be overlooked, and also to make your research more practical, more precise, so that it's able for you to carry out your research easily. So this is the purpose of this. Okay, you have to discuss your supervisors on this issue. I mean, you must have good supervisors to help to assist you in your area of study. So these are the model of cell integration, which look into the process of looking into various what they call it, strategic theory, and then choose one theory, which is this model is basically is David model at 207. Then you get to integrate the Sharia here, because after you identify various strategic theory, then you find that this theory framework process, it could be easily understood. You can see easily understood the implementation of Maqasid al-Sharia. Why? As you will understand what is Maqasid al-Sharia. Maqasid al-Sharia is the ultimate objective of Sharia. Mean whatever we do, it must be according to Sharia, and the Sharia having these 5 objectives: protection of religion, protection of life, protection of offspring, protections of this what we call intelligence, and protections of wealth and resources. Okay, these things. So whatever you do, your business, this has to be ultimate objective. Excuse me. So these are the things that we look into, and then of course you can be qualitative and quantitative research in this area. Okay. Any question? Excuse me to have a drink.
Sir.
Yes, Sister Tamilia. Please share your questions.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Yes.
Sir, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yes.
We have to combine Sharia with our research, but I'm not ulama. I feel unconfident to explain about perhaps ayah or hadith in my research. How about that? I'm not confident because I'm not an ulama like that.
Yes. When to say, I think you have a little problem in the sense that if your supervisors basically, well, what I could say today, knowledge is being demarcated, isn't it? The economy of knowledge, the too specialized. I mean, Sharia is Sharia, and then other specialties are different. But right, it should be the knowledge should be integrated in the sense that when we say that, to me, when we say Sharia, basically today expertise Sharia is fiqh in ibadah, fiqh in munakahat, isn't it? Not fiqh in muamalat, fiqh in jinayah. There's not much detail because fiqh in muamalat should be integrated with business, commercial, and so on, isn't it? Yeah, that's why. So, in your problem is what is, for example, give me an example of what area are you going to do research. You are in Sharia? Excuse me?
Psychology.
Psychologist, okay. In psychologist, you want to relate with Sharia?
Yes.
Okay. In psychologists, if you look at psychologists, the pattern of psychologists, I don't know what area that you need to look into detail. If you look at this method of analysis of psychology, psychiatrists, they use, I came across, which I use in my research, content analysis, isn't it? Content analysis, the behaviors and so on, and also traumatic analysis. They do inference. Inference is too much subjective, but content analysis, they could transform it into frequency data that you can further analyze using statistics. That is a two thing. If you look into internet, you look into thematic analysis and content analysis application in psychology. There are certain papers on that, and from there you could develop you can use method analysis of qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. Then you must do statistical analysis if you want. You have to integrate two. You have to do some statistical observation, statistical survey. You see, and that is more difficult in the sense that you have to go for field work. You have to go to the psychiatrist hospitals to see the data, to collect the data. That is the areas that you have to look into. You want to be a psychiatrist, you want to be a psychologist. Yeah. You want to do that? Look into the possibility. To me, if I were you, I'm looking at the potentials of being a professional psychiatrist in solving the human problem. As a consultant, thinking about open up clinic, a counselor, and so on. You look into it. Then you can open a consultant. Then benefit to you. And there you have to find out a successful business consultant in this area, how they tackle the people, how they treat the people. Then you can blend the two, qualitative, and come up with the business model. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Answer your question. Okay. Any more question? Okay.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam.
I'm just wondering if in the problem statement for proposal, must we include only local past studies to be in the problem statement, or we include also from the abroad past studies?
It depends on your area of research. Okay. Generally, if you look at the, for example, here, isn't it? Here, isn't it? The problem. Nowadays, it is borderless, yeah, borderless. Meant to say that problem, maybe there are general problem. There must be also a local problem. If you're looking into a case study, your research, your literature review should, to me, should cover reading the what do you call that, international development on your area, the general development. After that, you focus onto your area. You have to be more acceptable. Sometimes your research is being done overseas. Sometimes the method of using is already practiced internationally. So you can based on literature review, perhaps you can use the model in your local environment. So to me, I would prefer you to look into international as well. It would better depend on your subject matter.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other question before Dr. SHAAYA move to the next discussion?
Okay.
Okay, no question, Dr.
You look at a research proposal just now. Example. This is an example here. And then this is an example. One of the sisters mentioned applied research. This example in terms of Islamic quality standard. I think one of our participants looked into Islamic management, Islamic quality standard. Why giving example in this? Why I give example in this industry? Because I am in industry. I am in hospitality industry and operating a hotel in Turkey. So we managed to turn around just hotel, a 5-star hotel, a casino hotel, into Islamic hotel. In the sense, the casino hall we turned to a masjid, mosque, and then with the hotel, be able to make we don't put segregation. We don't put separation because in the Western world or in some countries, especially in Turks, they are very sensitive when we talk of Islam. But we can put different way. We say exclusive right for women, exclusive swimming pool for women. We make because we have exclusivity. We can have exclusive swimming pool for VIP. Why not we put exclusive one for women only? You see, because we respect the one woman is VIP, so we put exclusive swimming pool separate for women, exclusive leave for women. You see, we put exclusive. So we put the term, a different term. The hotel is very successful during the COVID because we cannot operate. During non-COVID before that, the what I call it, the booking time is 5 years ahead. You see, people want it. The environment is there. The hotel is very far from the city. It is a resort, but still people want to take a rest because the environment is great. Very peaceful environment. You see, it's just like you say you stay in the Islamic what do you call it, atmosphere. Okay, the woman be protected, the woman being exclusive swimming pool, there's all this exclusivity that, and even the non-Muslim would like to stay, but we cannot allow non-Muslim women to stay to swim with the exclusive what do you call it, swimming pool because they have different aurat, isn't it? But anyway, we're building a second hotel with the Islamic atmosphere. But anyway, this example that can be, and this we have developed this based on the hotel operating in 1997. We created that as a prototype. We created the Islamic quality standard. Okay? This Islamic quality standard, we work together, University UITM, and then it is being accepted. Indonesia, I think, also the same. They have accepted, and in Qatar and Turkey, of course. And then they're going to be accepted in Korea and so on. It is IQS, it is something to do with the standard 5-star, 7-star. 5-star is different. 7-star is, but we have Islamic quality standard 5 crescent, 6 crescent, 7 crescent. It's different standard. Of course, it's halal and other criteria, the environments, the what do you call that, the standard of dressing, the code of ethic, and so on, built into this. Okay, so these are areas, so many areas. Now, this one master student had done research on Islamic quality standard for travel agent. One guy is doing PhD on Islamic quality standard for the what do you call that, hospitality entertainment. Is it? These are the area. You look at this lodging area. What about the regional transport? What about distribution? This travel agent, we have one done research really. What about other areas? There are many possibilities that we need to develop. I remember in the morning when we say that why with Islamic to be Islamized, isn't it? Why? Remember in the early morning? To answer this question is that in 1851, George, Jacob of Holycourt introduced secularism, secularist philosophy, secularism, meant to say all work should be segregated Islam. I mean religion. Religion could not be integrated in religion, separate out. That is why the process today, since 1851, Islam, religion is not included. The value of religion is not included. That is why now we need to bring back the element of religion, especially because Islam is the only religion accepted by Allah. Therefore, we should be integrated into all human activities. You see, that is important because it builds values, it enhances the system, the principle, and it gives what we call add values to the business in the sense. For example, Islamic banking is $3 billion business. Islamic finance, Islamic halal product is $3 trillion business. You see, so much things, and it developed into many other areas now. Islamic hotel, Islamic tourism, Islamic what do you call it? Other form, Islamic cosmetic product and so on. Yeah? Okay, these are the areas. Okay, now we have covered this area. We have covered this, we covered this, we covered this, we covered this. Okay, now we're going into research design strategy. Okay, any question before I go to this research design strategy? So you have to stop because it will not put you to sleep. If you ask question, then to make you awake. And also you can have a cup of coffee or tea. Excuse me, I can have a drink. Okay, now let us go. Any questions? Before we go to research design strategy and sample design?
No question, I think, Dr. SHAAYA, so far.
Any question? No question.
You continue.
Or you can have a dip of drinks. Okay. Anyway, let us go into this research design. Okay. Research design is very important. We have discussed. We have made choice at this stage, assuming that you have made your choice. What sort of research you need to do? Okay. But before that, it's important to know as well because this affects your environment, the choice of topic, the sub area. Okay, research design. Research design consisting of type, purpose. You must have your strategy, the purpose, the time dimension. You cannot do research for next 10 years. You must have time dimension. Your research design must have time dimension. When to say maybe it's the time dimension is within 6 months of your data collection and so on, or your research in terms of data collection based on the behavior, for example, psychologists just now, behavior of your research based on certain time dimension. Okay, the scope of your research within your reach, the environment of research. Is it a laboratory environment, a social environment, and so on. Okay, these are you need to know in this case. And then after that, it is sample design, and then data collect design. And after you determine the two, you do pilot testing and then research instrument to collect. Okay? And now let us go into research design. Okay, when we talk research design, okay, that's strategy design. Okay? Of course, it relates to type of research, as mentioned, type of research, the purpose of research, time dimension, you can say, case study, or the other one is, we call this the scope and environment. And you can look on the note here. Can you see the note here on the right? You can see the note, or it is covered by the picture?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, okay. Look at the design strategy. The most important is the overriding strategy. Yeah, the overriding strategy in Islam is Maqasid al-Sharia. Yes, Maqasid al-Sharia is the overriding strategy of all of your research. Remember, Sharia is to say that whatever you do, you should protect religion. You should not go against the religion. You should not go against destroying life. You should not against intellectual you must do the protection of intellectual, protection of offspring. Offspring mean the biological lineage of the according to Islam, and then protections of wealth and resources. These are the objective of Sharia. See, in Islam, whatever research, you're fulfilling the maqasid of Sharia. The other strategy, I call it tactical strategy. Tactical strategy means whatever you do here, time, your purpose, time dimension, should not against this overriding strategy, should fulfill this strategy. Your research should fulfill this, not go against it. Okay? For example, when we did environment business on toxic waste, okay? Toxic waste means environmental business research. It should fulfill the overriding strategy. The environment should not protect the religion. So against religion, the environment you're doing or business is a protection of religion, protection of life, in the sense that toxic waste should not be abandoned what you like. It should be kept and should be protected. It should be recycled because protection of life. And protection of intellect, it should not destroy people's intellectual and protection of spring, protection of resources. I mean, it should be renewable. It should not be destroy the wealth of the nation. These are examples of the research tactical strategy. We fulfill this. So make sure whatever you do, your research should fulfill this overriding study. Should fulfill this protection overriding strategy of maqasid al-Sharia. Very simple, isn't it? Okay. Any question on this? Maqasid al-Sharia is overriding strategy of your research. The other strategy, design strategy, we call it tactical strategy, is to fulfill the requirement of maqasid al-Sharia. You see? For example, you shouldn't, in terms of type of research you choose, this process so many types of research, the applied research, or pure research is to fulfill the advancement of Islam, the advancement of life, protection of life, the advancement of intellectual setting towards development, not to integrate. For example, intellectual advancement, you can see that dichotomy of knowledge should be integrated into one. Okay, the protection of offspring, it should protect the offspring. Should not, protection of offspring, there shouldn't be any, protection of offspring, means there shouldn't be any, free sex, all this, other element, homosexuality, lesbian, and so on, yeah? And also, wealth resources, for example, relating to corruption, protection of wealth, recycling of product, recycling of renewable resources, and so many other areas in this case. Okay. Okay. And then the purpose, when research should be time dimension, it should be statistical, it should be environment means it should be laboratory. If you're doing biological research, clinical research, it should be laboratory environment. It should be in terms of other condition, social environment, or whether it is on business simulation or mathematical simulation and so on. These are the research environment you should choose. For example, our sisters are going to do psychology, isn't it? So you have to define how you're going to get the data from the research environment. Is it something to do with field condition, a survey of those people suffering from need psychiatric treatment, or whether it's laboratory condition, or rather in the simulation. Okay. Okay, these are the basically in terms of design. Okay, anything question? It looks complicated, but it's simple. Okay.
Me, sir. I have a question, sir.
Yes, yes, please.
I'm sorry. Maqasid Syariah included to protect the health. So in psychology term, it is material and psychology related.
Maqasid Syariah.
Yeah, Maqasid Syariah to protect the health. It means that we have to protect words, material and psychological.
You see, if
Like that.
yes, you see, Maqasid Syariah means ultimate objective of Sharia. That means ultimate objective of Islam. So whatever you do, if you are practicing psychologists, you see, you should be able to fulfill the requirement of Maqasid Sharia. I think psychologists is good in the sense that one is first is protections of you need to protection human life, isn't it? Then second is protections of intellectual development. You see, and then the third one is the first one is protection of religion. Mean to say whatever treatment you do, whatever advice you do as a psychologist, you should base on principle of Sharia, isn't it? You shouldn't go against other forms. I don't know, psychologists, but in terms of psychologists, they're doing counseling, for example, and they have counseling method of they are using many areas as being specified in the Quran, as you know. Well, Quran is Hakim, Quran is for Hikmah, and you can see that Quran is also many what do you call that, guidance for you to look into it, is it? To practice it, and the practicing of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in what I call in overcome a certain issues. Yeah, so you can do that research in a way. You see.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, any other? So in this case, we're talking of qualitative research. Okay, a common purpose here when we look into
I ask?
we can discover basically.
There's a question.
Yes.
There's one question. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask before this slide, Professor,
Yes, sorry.
about the research design strategies.
Yeah, okay.
How about operating strategy and tactical strategy?
Okay.
Is it all we must take the sub of this operating strategy, or we can focus one or two, just one or two?
Okay.
In operating strategy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The question is strategy and tactical strategy, isn't it? Okay. When we talk of strategy, what is corporate strategy? I mean, overriding strategy. With overriding strategy means, and in Islam, we say Maqasid al-Sharia. Maqasid Sharia is the ultimate objective of Sharia, Islam. So, Maqasid al-Sharia is objective, total objective, ultimate objective. This is an overriding objective. Meant to say, whatever we want to design, whatever we're going to choose a type of research, is designed in such a way that it should fulfill the objective, toward fulfilling the objective. It should not contradict to the objective. This is what it means, tactical objective. For example, the type of research you need to do. There's so many types of research you need to do. For example, you're choosing research. Well, any type of research, if you have to gear toward achieving the objective, just for example, you're going to find a research, you want to do some research is to, what do you call that, how do you put it, Sharia is trying to disqualify the Prophet Muhammad is not a prophet. Auzubillah. Should you do that? No, isn't it? That is, you are not protecting the religion to me. And for example, a research, practical research, when I was asked when I was in Turkey, when I was giving lectures on the food to eat, halal food to eat, based on the Said Qadawi book, we were reading that. There's one phrase say that you can eat animals. I mean, a fulfilled animal, I would say that it is halal animals, for example, cow, when they're about to die, you see, quickly you slaughter them. You can eat it because they don't yet die. So one student asked me, it's not a student, we are talking about the general manager, asked me, what happened if a snake bite the cow? The snake bite the cow, it's poisonous meat, and quickly we slaughter the cow. Can we eat the meat? They said, how are we going to do that? How are we going to answer that? So I never come across research done by Muslim on this case, but it happened when I do my literature review. I came across a medical research saying that when a snake bite, say the cow animal, which is the meat can be eaten because the poison does not absorb into the meat. That's why the research went out. The outcome of the research for the non-Muslims. So I just tell them, yes, I came across, I didn't do my own research, but I came across a literature review based on clinical research. This is the outcome. So meant to say, we can eat, it's not poisonous. See? So these are the, you see, sometimes, research, we have to do some practical research, which is useful, And so that's why Professor Omar was saying that we must do empirical research because there's so many, we are far behind in many areas, you see, in our human activities. We should do something, applied research to improve our society in many areas. Economic, dimension economy, that's why IIIT try to do integration of knowledge. So we have to integrate back the knowledge in economic, in education, in science, in medicine, and so on. In medicine, for example, anything is processed. We understand that all work is a process. So medical is a process. Medical work is a process. But Islam is a principle, it's a wisdom, it's add values to the process. Add value, tambah nilai kepada proses. Itu Islam. Because Islam is principle, wisdom. So that we need to integrate all this process back into valuable work process. Okay? So I hope I'm not segregating too much of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. These are you can see the example here, the difference between qualitative and quantitative, yeah? Quantitative, we test on hypotheses, measures and tests. This one, you observe and interpret. You observe, you interpret. For example, just now our sisters talking about psychiatrists, psychologists, mostly we observe, interpret, and if we look in qualitative, in terms of if you want to do some qualitative research, then a behavioral change, then we can be quantified as hypothesis, we can be combine the two, or it can be learned by this area, research on the involved result as subjective. Sometimes result is qualitative is subjective, but it gives a pattern of change, it gives some idea of change. For example, a person that changed because of this, then we can assume that you can make an inference. If this has happened, there will be a change. Really? That is a pattern of change. They don't have a proper statistical analysis here. They are more objective in that sense. Small sample taken, here sometimes a big sample and so on. See, this hard. Of course, you can look into it. Yeah, you can sometimes the slide we'll make into a slide later on for you for reference. Okay. These are the sample result and qualitative research. Excuse me. This you can find in many of the books or any of the, this is one of the books, I think. Yeah, compile it together, 2-3 books into this. You see, and you look, now thing has changed a lot. When I look into psychological or analysis of subjective, they commonly look into thematic and content analysis. It is simple in a sense. More, what do you call it? More quantifiable this, and then the content analysis is geared toward more frequency. They can quantify into statistical frequency. You can interpret better. So this is, you can look into this, into the books or rather into the internet. Okay. For example, here, when I talk qualitative research, dramatic content analysis, what interests me very much because I look at this, there are areas of development into these areas. You can see the thematic going toward subjective, qualifying certain thing. And then the most interesting is going to content analysis. It is used in psychological research, but I did it for my perception of Sharia scholars' perception toward management. So I look at this because the reason behind it, when I look at this methodology, they are going to what qualifying and can transform into statistical table, metrics, analysis of frequency, and so on. That is interesting. And so I use this method, hoping that this method could be further developed into area. You see, is the methodology is itself is developing. Yeah, when you use it, you find it the case study what you say is suitable, but others find it also suitable. So it's going on and on. That run develop into a common fact, common methods. Okay, you can look at you type it on to make content analysis technique. Okay, selection of sample design. Okay. These that's not is qualitative, now is quantitative. Quantitative research meant to say combine on two possible probability. The thing is make a little bit complicated. You talk of probability. Do you understand what is a probability sampling? What is non-probability sampling? Do you understand what probability sampling? Do you understand probability? Don't understand. It is statistical, yes. It is mathematical. Yeah. These are the reason when we come to the quantitative research, you are basically based on mathematical concept. The probability means how to say giving the same chance. Sample to given the same chance. Same chance. Maknanya what I call it, difficult to explain. Probability is everybody having given chance to be selected. Okay, it is simple, random, systematic. You look into the definition in the it explained in Malay. I'm not sure, but in English, it's a very common probability sampling, non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling means they just give a quota. I want to interview. They just interview anybody they like, or they put a quota. I want to interview 3 people. 3 female, 10 male, that's all. But in probability sampling is different. The selection of people to interview is scientifically selected. This is important in terms of scientific research, social research, what I call that, medical research, agricultural research, and all these things. These are very important because it is scientific in nature. This non-scientific in nature is normally used in business. What they want is to see the pattern of change. They say that, for example, how many people like this food. They don't care. They don't care how. They just interview 5 people, 10 people. Okay, they make that is the pattern of change. Okay, it's different. So you understand that this is scientific method. This is non-scientific method. Just now, okay. So, okay, before we getting harder, can you ask question? For example, sampling design, you can see here. Here is complex random sampling field surveys carried out in the land area, because this is the environmental survey. At the same time, the pricing, the market survey is carried out. This non-property. You see, interview being carried out to the selected non-random, just interview people in the industry, what is the price like, and so on. They do it. Here, they have a system of selecting, for example, how they do it. I will talk later in that how the method is used. Systematic, there's probability, non-probability. Any question?
Me, sir. Please.
Sister Tamilia, yes, please share your question.
Yes, sorry?
Okay. So purposive sampling could be quantitative research too, yeah, not only qualitative research.
Sorry, I cannot hear carefully.
I'm sorry. Purposive sampling can belong to quantitative research too, not only belong to qualitative research.
You mean probability sampling, yeah?
Yeah, purposive sampling.
Probability sampling is normally it is applied in terms of qualitative, because probability sampling normally is more scientific in nature to determine certain what do you call that? Certain result and using statistical analysis. Okay. Now look at the qualitative. Okay. Qualitative, and normally probability sampling, there's some wide sample. There's qualitative, you can see qualitative. Okay, then the difference here, we can see that here it discover ideas. You want to discover the ideas with general research object. For example, you want to determine the ideas of Sharia trained people. Okay, Sharia trained people. In the ideas, you're using qualitative. Qualitative, yeah. Qualitative, yeah. Okay. How are they to give the ideas? There are two possibilities. Means to say you can read the books. They're written books. Okay. Written book, you cannot do the sampling. You can just whatever books they wrote, you put it together and you read through. You want to see the pattern of thinking towards certain thing. You see the books. Okay, you select the books, and then you see the pattern of change from the ideas. What is that? For example, you want to see the ideas of Hamka ideas. Okay, Hamka. You know Hamka, isn't it? Hamka, Professor Hamka, Dr. Hamka, isn't it? The ideas.
Yes.
To read the books written by Hamka. You want to see the ideas. Is there any changes when he was under a certain situation, under say, to say, what I call that, environment of certain political environment, and before that, during the environment, and after that, want to see the pattern change. You just select his book all that time. You don't have to do probability sampling. Understand? This is the qualitative. Yes, that is basically different. But if you want to see probability sampling in terms of quantitative, you want to see what ideas the student, or rather the what do you call this, the people thinking of hamka ideas on a certain issue. Then you can do probability sampling. You select, say, a group of sample scholars in Islamic study and management scholars, two. You interview, say, 50 people. 50 people, you select 10 people from each group. And then you come up with a questionnaire. Then you record. But I think it's good. You have some scaling method to that. And then you can adopt probability sampling. But something that you cannot provide some probability sampling, something you want to see the ideas. Just now, you read to the books and the journal, get the idea using content analysis. This one. You look at content analysis at the method of determining the ideas of pattern. Yeah. You look into the internet, content analysis technique. This quite commonly now is quite interesting to develop. You don't have to devise a questionnaire. You just read the journal, you read the book, and you can develop the ideas. From there, you can assess the pattern of ideas also. You have to look. Okay. Sorry, I hope I answer your question. It's, difficult in this online. Yeah. Okay. Any other question now? Data collection. You talk data collection just now, isn't it?
How about pilot testing, sir?
Okay.
Pilot testing.
Pilot testing. We will
Yeah.
come later, but anyway.
In purposive sampling, in qualitative, we need pilot testing too.
Yes, because that you want to make sure that your design, your question design, the pattern you're going to use, and then your technique of analysis, technique of data collection is right. You can use sampling, pilot testing, even in quantitative. You see, meant to say, after you choose your subject matters, you use your method design, you use your selection sample, whether you want to use quantitative, quantitative or qualitative, or whether after you have decided either one, you want to choose whether your process of analyze resulted in what the outcome will be. Maybe during the design, your design questionnaire, come up with a questionnaire, the pattern, you need to refine further. You have to refine, make it better during the pilot testing. You can do that pilot testing to make more refine your research, more better. Yeah, problem, because if you don't do pilot testing, you may find that during the actual research problem that occurred, and then may cost you time, may cost you money. So pilot testing is important for yourself. Yeah. Okay. Any question? Okay. Data collection here. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Before that,
Yes.
Doctor, what about sample size? How can we determine our sample size, the size of the sample?
that is very very, what do you call that? Very good question and very difficult question. Because when we talk of sample size, normally when we talk of sample size, depend on the sample frame, isn't it? Sample frame. I meant to say that the sample frame say that, well, normally when we talk of this sample size, normally that is a frame, so that you can determine 5% or 10%, whatever it is, relevant. But in any case, when there is no sample design, a sample frame, you don't have a sample frame, what do you do? You don't have the list of people to interview. What do you do? So they use this one, cluster. Okay, cluster. Assuming you are doing normally a social survey, or rather market survey, opinion survey, you divided the people into cluster. For example, in your village, you want to interview the perception of your what do you call that, the certain data you want to collect from your village. How are you going to do it? There's no sampling frame. So what you possibly could do, you divide your village into cluster. If it is your village, take by road, cluster, your village have 5 roads. Or say cluster number 1, cluster number 2, cluster number 3. Therefore 5 roads, 5 clusters. You define that. And then you take a random sample by, you say, I want to take 2 clusters out of 5. Or 1 cluster or 2 clusters, you can test the significance. 2 clusters. So by 2 clusters, you do a random sampling of the 5 of the 2 select 2 out of 5 randomly. You see? After you selected 2 out of 5, say number 1 you have selected random, and it happened at number 1 and number 5 road. So the whole number 5 road, how many population, you see that I would do every 10 house. I will go every 10, 1 road 1. Number 2, number 3 cluster which we chosen every number 10 1. So that is cluster plus systematic. Cluster, you have determined the cluster, a random, complex random, just now this random. Determine the cluster, and then systematically you determine how many people you want. It's very some element of non-scientific here, because it is what what I call the number of people you're doing. It depends on number you're able to interview. So it is every 10 people, every 10 house you take 1, or maybe the road is too big, too long, maybe every 20 or 30, depend on the time and scope of study. That is where there's no frame. So there's no, what do you call that, predetermined number of sample that you want to study in reality. But mathematically, you can also calculate the errors mathematically. You can errors how far it is from sampling probability, sampling error, they call it. Okay? But in the case of study for PhD, for example, you can do this way, taking into the by case study, right? Case study. Your case study, of course, most of the PhD, it cannot be what I call generalized. A case study is meant for the case that you understudy, is subject to further research and so on. So because the time is limited, your scope is limited. If it is too big a scope, impossible to finish your research. If it is too long a time, it's just impossible for you to finish within 3 or 4 years. So make a case study out of it. Okay? And to me, determine whatever sample that you like to do, but put the element of probability sampling. Mean to say, you identify people, say, you want to interview 10 people, but make sure you have 50 people, then from 50 people, you interview 10. So the elements of probability sampling is taken care of. That is my view.
Doctor, if I may ask, have you ever came across research that used G-Power software to determine the sample size?
Sorry?
Have you came across research that used G-Power software, the software that named G-Power, in order to determine the sample size?
No, I didn't. I didn't come. Is there anything interesting on the G samples? Is it determined on what area?
1 second, if I may share.
Yeah.
I cannot share my screen now. Wait,
Yeah.
let me share my screen. The software look like this. Can you see my screen?
Oh, yeah, yes. Okay, fine.
Yes, we can see.
Based on
Correlation. Yeah.
test, square test.
Okay.
Advised by my friend previously to use this, but apparently I did not use it for my just to share because some of my friends said
Yeah.
this is one of the way to one of the method to determine the sample size, but I'm not sure.
I'm not. Sorry to be honest with you. I'm not quite sure because I do not know how this software is being developed.
Yeah, because this is automated. Even myself, I don't have any idea how to use the software.
Yeah.
Can you share it with us, brother?
I can share it afterward.
Yeah.
Let's focus on Dr. SHAAYA first.
Yeah. So of course it interesting. I'm a mathematician statistician by myself because when I look at the software, I always question the what you call the what the program.
Yeah.
Determining
Statistician that are able to do everything manually, but for us,
yeah.
mainly the newly postgraduate student, we are very used to all this software.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because when I use I sometimes I use this sort of software. I think I came across two or three software, but they give me different results. So, for example, when I'm a mathematician myself, when I look at a certain analysis, for example, you make analysis, you say that analysis variant ANOVA, the result is supportive, supportive, non-supportive, I mean negative. But cannot answer that. When I look at the journal of statistician, that ANOVA could make some, does not give any good result sometimes. So you must make another test to make sure that it is true. So in my one analysis, when I do use ANOVA, it is not significant. But when there is when further analysis 0.001 is significant, so it's suspected that I use the other t test, then it's significant. So when I look at journal, yes, this is sometimes misleading. And also you look at old journal chi-squared, they're using chi-squared. Chi-squared method actually is a bit the mathematical formula may not be right. To me, I don't use chi-squared. So this as a software, I take it as it is. As when software engineers or software programmer, they just take whatever it is and just put into it, and we just pick in and get a thing in it. Yeah, and then you're able to interpret. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes when your statistical result contradict with the trend in the literature, then maybe you need to double check in relation or your methods.
What I was a student, they do reverse engineering. Well, I used to catch because I know that when something cannot be done, I used to question them what sort of behind it. They use reverse engineering to make sure it is positive whatever it is. Subject. That is why I'm very, very, very conservative. When I do my master or PhD, I still use statistical model myself. Yeah.
Please share your screen again because just now it was cancelled because I share my screen.
Okay, sorry. Very interesting. Thank you. Okay, this one, yeah. Okay, this one, I'm not sure. we're going to 4 o'clock now. Data analysis. So data analysis, we have discussed data analysis just now. Right, so anyway, when data collection here, data collection, there are many methods. For example, you can look at data collection here. The measurement question, okay? The communication approach. It can be personal interview.
Sorry, maybe you can resume your slideshow because it's
sorry.
It's more for others.
Okay.
All right, good. Thank you.
So you can see that when it comes to we call this data collection. It's always data collection. Yeah. Okay. When here is the data collection, we talk of sample design here. We talk of data collection now. Here are the instruments of data collection. This measurement question, they could be by means of communication, I say. You can go for personal interview. You can phone interview. You can serve an administered inquiry. For example, you just give their questionnaire, they just send back to you. That's most commonly now today, but through the website or through the internet, sometimes through email. Most commonly, they just give you some question. You just answer immediately. You can get the result out of that. And of course, the other one is observation approach. This is something we have to see the behavior of personal behavior of changes. You need observation approach. A non-behavioral approach, a record, physical, process, and so on. These are the two basic methods of collecting pedestrian behaviors. Observation behavior, you observe it, you record it. Here, you talk to the people, personal interview, of course, you record it to their respond. Whoever respond, you record it, and you give the questionnaire to them, then you record it. If it's psychological, I think one shouldn't do psychological, they have to make some observational approach in this case. The behavior change, okay, non-behavior change based on the record of their, say, a doctor's record, so on, okay? This is and the instrument we use, well, this is not instrument we use. These are the basic instrument questionnaires, okay? Here we look at the field survey. This is environmental survey. They're all getting all the information here, record, and so on. Okay. And then, example again, this is also market survey. As you say, it's quota sampling. They just get price, interview the people. Okay. These are the data collection recorded. What we mean is should be properly recorded and respond is to make sure the data is being analyzed and be recorded. So what? To avoid uncertainty and so on. And even these text from interview, these are content analysis. When you talk content analysis, it's open questions. Open question means you from the interview, from the discussion, there is no questionnaire where you have to record. For example, you want to see his opinion relating to certain issue. You code it out, you put it in quote here, and so on. This is a content analysis. You can see from some books and even in some research in the journal, they're using content analysis to determine certain pattern of thinking. Yeah, these are basically common. You can see that instrument they ask. This to me is a little bit biased when they ask, what do you think of this? Good, no good, good, no good, something that common, isn't it? They put into 5. 1 is negative, 5 is positive, in that sense, choose whatever. This is, to me, it leads to the question that you want to them to answer. The only thing is the what do you call that? The degree of agreement to what you ask. But this is commonly being used. So in terms of getting people's opinion and so on. So that is why I prefer to use this content analysis, which is open question, open interview, talking openly, where I catch what from the discussion I can determine certain issue in which he is trying to bring in, what is his opinion, and then I code it here, certain code. For example, he disliked a certain A, certain A is code X3, so I put X3. If I interview the different people and same code, I put it here. This way of content analysis is more open and more non-biased in that sense to me. This is a bit leading question. But anyway, it's of your choice to do it. Okay. Okay, that is data collection. Okay, now we talk of data analysis. Okay, that is different. It's a different standard. Okay, looking at the what I call that PhD. Because example of PhD, these are the PhD thesis of one university. Okay, basically they want introduction. This is a common standard mass introduction, literature review, research methodology, data analysis, research finding, and conclusion. Of course, bibliography and appendix. These are basic that all universities have all these elements, but have others, they want to add other element, chapters 6 or 7. It depends on the standard university. Okay? Basically, I think many universities, these are the main topics that should be included. You see? Production refer to all the what you call that, your research, the summary of your text review, whatever it is here. Some supervisor, they just look at this, you see, and then understand the whole thing. You see? Some, they will look into detail. Some supervisor will look into substance. Some supervisors look into technicality. It depends on the supervisor. Depend on your supervisor. But in I don't know, when we did in Europe, they're looking more on substance. You see? So when I look at my master's PhD, there are a lot of errors in my English. English is not my mother tongue. But my thesis is distinction. You see? Well, I asked my supervisor, to give me the distinction why. Oh, we don't look at your grammatical mistake, we look at your substance. That's what depends. Depends. Well, of course, the thesis must have some standard of writing. If you are supposed to be in writing in English, you need someone to proofreading your English, editing your English, and so on. It's important. If your thesis is bad, the supervisor might not be able to read, understand, then they will say, oh, okay, you better do it again. Then you spoil all your time taken. Okay, this is. Well, for me, I look at substance, okay? And then literature is important, and so on, so on. Okay. Data analysis, just now. These are examples of data analysis. See this introduction. This is chapter 2. Mentioned here in detail. This is a put description here. I just what do you call that? In your introduction, you must be able to explain everything what you have read. You see what areas of interest and so on. Your subject relating to your objective and so on. Yeah. This is just giving an example of the content in terms of format. You're going to talk about your research problem and so on, and then you're able to what do you call it? To summary all your research problem and solution to this one statement. Easy for the supervisor. You read this detail, they read this thing. There's no model to integrate to address this issue. So as to bring the gap closer. For example, you talk of 3 gaps, all this thing, you talk of 1 sentence to summarize your 3 problem areas. Okay, these are explained to you again. And these are the scope, research method you need to do is describe scope assessing the perception or relating to market design. Perception, qualitative research. Why we do qualitative research? How we to do it? When to data text written. Data text written in books, scholars, professional, and then primary data interview. See, this is qualitative. scope, briefing, integrated model. This is strategic framework, theory, chosen. Then this is the availability, qualitative research based on primary data, most of primary data, and then analysis one. Example, methodology used. Literature review, well, I don't know, some people say one books read 309. When I did my research, I just say I read 309 books. Read. They asked why so much book. I said 309, a lot of books. And when the examiner asked me how many books I read, how many journals I read, I say I read 309 books and consists of journal as well. And we look at the substance of the thing. There are other journal which is not relevant, but I don't put it here. Okay? Only the relevant journal in this area that I look, even books in this. Most important thing, you're going to read books. These are the books, subject reference, management, SHAAYA, solid risk management, and research methodology. I have to defend my method of using it because I'm using different method. I defend it. You see? So based on research methodology, based on journal of research methodology, research statistician, and so on, to defend my methods because I use both method, different method, is it? So that I have to defend my method. If you do a different method, then you have to defend your method. Okay. Same thing if we have to talk our publication, type of publication, Al-Quran. Why I refer Al-Quran? Because I mean Al-Quran is we need to refer to Al-Quran. The reason behind it, Al-Quran is the mother of all knowledge. You see? That you have to, from here, that is reveal knowledge, then you can develop from there into the other areas.
Dr. SHAAYA?
Yes, sir.
We are running out of time. We are about 30 minutes to 4:30. Maybe to facilitate the discussion, some of our participants may share their research topic or their research progress.
Okay.
And you may share your opinion. What research method should they focus on?
A minute to conclude. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the relating to maqasid al-Sharia into management. Maqasid al-Sharia could be integrated into management. With those who do method maqasid al-Sharia, those who do management, and then this is the gap between the two, maqasid al-Sharia management, and you can see this is need qualitative research, this need quantitative research, the two, in order to prove your model. You see, the overriding hypothesis, you have hypothesis, you have statistical hypothesis, but you also have overriding oral hypothesis. That's on this model. And then you have research methodology used, you can see, which I have described below, above. And then this is the sampling method I use. No absence of residential area, I use cluster. Every lorry, systematic, every 10 lorries, we take a sample of one liter, one bin of rubbish, solid out, to get this organic. And then here's a sample. There's no framework. We just take a sample. We then residential to make sure that rubbish coming from the respective area, residential, commercial, industrial. Okay, this is the top of our research from the interview from the market research. We met the respective wholesaler. And so we combine the two, got statistic, and come up financial cash flow and financial analysis. Data analysis result, this are the result. This quantitative analysis, this is content analysis. We use content analysis and SHAAYA code, big code, remember I put on the code, maqasid al-Sharia code, management code. You think this is example of views that collected. Example, we're talking of maqasid, then I give you some code. And most of those people are talking of jurists, then I give you some code. They're talking of application, yeah. And these are patterns of perception of scholars and professionals. You see the pattern, is moving to what? Management, strategic management. Example, you see, you can see there are many examples here in the book, from book, interview, from journal, 3 elements of pattern of thinking. You can see normal and so on, and these are all mathematical analysis. At the end of the day, we can see that Maqasid al-Shari'ah fulfill this, okay, the plan into design. Anyway, the contribution of the conclusion, these are the contribution of Shari'ah in terms of study, contribution of Islamic business management, in new knowledge, Maqasid al-Shari'ah as overriding corporate strategy, human technical knowledge, Islamic legal knowledge, human secularism, private-public incorporation, socio-financial benefit equilibrium. You use this word that is make everybody confused. Not everybody confused. Your own word. These all your own words that come up from your research. And then contribution of business market strategy, mainstream of Islamic economy, and shorten the strategic management process. And these are the model. These are the formula I use. We develop a new formula. People can develop further this formula. That's all. So now here, university, we have done all this area. Most important to remind you, this element, this design is very important. And then the purpose for this university, industry, and government based on this research design. Okay, can see that is the end of it. Lastly, in industry, if you come up with a research, if you're working industry, the most important thing is summary and recommendation. And then you're talking of the outcome of finding. Then you talk of cost benefit. You're talking of cost and benefit. Appendix, research, methodology, all these are appendix. That is your responsibility as a researcher. You see, they don't question this. If anything wrong, they will respect you in this. So the most important industry, they're looking into this, unlike the private industry. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khair, Dr. SHAAYA OTHMAN. Your topic is, your explanation is very detailed.